Hello friends. Have you ever met someone who seemed like a quiet storm, reserved on the surface, yet hiding deep reserves of resilience, ambition, and emotional complexity beneath? Someone who's both dreamer and realist, artist and architect, lover and loner. If so, chances are you've crossed paths with a Capricorn born in the year of the goat. And today, we're going to explore the fascinating depths of this unique cosmic combination, covering everything from love to legacy, friendship to finances, and the shadows they wrestle with in the silence of their solitude. Because when Earth Capricorn meets Earth Goat, the result is stability layered with subtlety. Let's decode the soul behind that steady gaze. Love. For the Capricorn Goat, love is never something that simply happens, it's something that unfolds, like a carefully composed symphony or a novel written over years. This isn't the type of person who sweeps others off their feet with spontaneous love declarations or grand, cinematic gestures. Instead, they offer something much rarer in today's fast-paced, swipe-left world: emotional reliability. They don't fall in love, they grow in love. Slowly, deliberately, and intentionally. Their affection begins in silence, matures in loyalty, and solidifies in time. What may feel distant or reserved in the beginning is actually a person carefully measuring every emotion before fully opening their heart. Their romantic energy is grounded in substance. Passion matters to them, yes, but only when it's rooted in mutual respect and emotional consistency. They're deeply allergic to drama. Wild arguments followed by make-up sex? That's a no. Roller coaster relationships full of ups and downs? Hard pass. For them, love should feel like peace, not a constant test. Their version of romance is making your favorite breakfast on a cold morning, fixing your broken chair without being asked, or checking the weather to remind you to take an umbrella. These aren't just acts of kindness. They're expressions of devotion, written in the small print of daily life. The emotional makeup of the Capricorn Goat is more nuanced than it first appears. Capricorn by nature is guarded, often misunderstood as cold or emotionally distant. But when the sensitivity of the goat enters the equation, it creates a far more complex and layered emotional profile. The goat softens the tough outer shell of Capricorn, infusing this individual with warmth, imagination, and deep inner tenderness. Once emotionally secure, they begin to express a romantic idealism they rarely show to the world. Their hearts are tender, even fragile, but encased in thick armor. Crack through it, and you'll find a partner who will hold your hand through anything life throws your way. To the Capricorn Goat, love isn't an emotion, it's a decision. A commitment, a partnership in the truest sense of the word. They seek a partner who isn't just attractive or exciting, but someone with whom they can plan the next 5, 10, or 50 years. Someone who shares values, goals, and a mutual respect for life's bigger picture. Once they've chosen someone, they truly choose them, every day, in every way. They may not say, "I love you," often, but they'll remember your birthday even when you forget it yourself, and they'll stand by your side long after others have walked away. Their love language is usually action-based, acts of service, reliability, and long-term effort. And make no mistake, they remember everything. The way you like your coffee. The name of your childhood pet. The song you once said reminds you of your grandmother. They hold on to these details because they listen, deeply and intentionally. In their world, love is a collection of small, everyday gestures that form a kind of emotional infrastructure, a quiet strength that's felt more than seen. Being loved by a Capricorn Goat doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like safety, permanence, and coming home to someone who never forgets you. They also understand the power of loyalty. They don't give their hearts away easily, but when they do, they expect the same level of fidelity in return. This makes betrayal especially devastating for them. It's not just the emotional pain, it's the shattering of a sacred trust. They can forgive, but forgetting is another matter. Their memory is long, especially when it comes to emotional wounds. This doesn't mean they hold grudges, it means they learn, and they protect themselves going forward. Their love is wholehearted, but only once it's clear you're worth the risk. The ultimate romantic experience with a Capricorn Goat is one of quiet depth and emotional endurance. They won't flood you with compliments or send you love songs at midnight, but they'll show up when it matters most. They'll build a life with you that isn't just built on shared interests, but shared purpose. They'll be there in the hospital waiting room, in the middle of your biggest career failure, during your worst arguments, and not because they have to, but because they choose to. Over and over again. If you're looking for a whirlwind, dramatic love affair, you might walk past the Capricorn Goat without ever noticing their slow burning flame. But if you're looking for something real, something enduring, soulful, and rooted in truth, then you'll find that their love is the kind that doesn't just survive storms. It outlasts them, because this isn't just love, it's legacy. Marriage. Marriage to a Capricorn Goat isn't about spectacle, it's about substance. If you're expecting a fairy tale whirlwind with flashy proposals and Instagram-perfect milestones, you might be looking in the wrong direction. But if you want something that's built to last, crafted with intention, vision, and soul, then a Capricorn Goat is the partner who turns, forever, from a promise into a plan. For them, marriage isn't simply a declaration of love. It's a deeply rooted decision that's part emotional, part practical, and entirely sacred. They don't idealize weddings, they idealize commitment. And that commitment begins long before the vows are spoken. Their approach to marriage is deeply thoughtful. These individuals don't enter serious relationships lightly, and they certainly don't treat marriage as just a checkbox or a romantic impulse. To them, it's a milestone that should only be reached once both partners are emotionally equipped, mentally aligned, and practically prepared. They ask themselves hard questions. Are we compatible long-term? Do we have the same values? Can we grow together? If the answers don't satisfy their high standards, they'll walk away, even if they love you. Because love, to a Capricorn Goat, isn't enough by itself. It has to be sustainable. And that's where their strength lies, in choosing not just the person they want now, but the person they want beside them at 60, 70, and beyond. Once they commit, they're in. Fully, truly, unwaveringly in. Their loyalty in marriage is rock solid, not because it's easy, but because it's chosen every day with intention. This is the person who will weather health scares, financial setbacks, parenting struggles, and all the quiet challenges that test a lifelong bond. Think of them as emotional architects. They design their marriage like a home, reinforced with loyalty, honesty, and shared purpose. Not everything is showy. Some of their most powerful displays of love are invisible to the outside world: daily efforts, silent support, and private sacrifices that form the bedrock of the relationship. Importantly, marriage to a Capricorn Goat does not mean losing oneself in the union. These individuals need independence like lungs need air. They're not aloof, and they're certainly not emotionally unavailable, but they do require space to pursue their own dreams, ideas, and identities. Marriage, to them, should feel like a partnership between two whole individuals, not a merger where one person disappears. A spouse who understands this isn't just accepted, they're valued. Because to the Capricorn Goat, a strong relationship is one that supports both personal growth and shared growth. One doesn't eclipse the other. They're side by side, not intertwined to the point of losing shape. They also bring an unmatched sense of responsibility into the marriage. They take their role seriously, not just as a lover or cohabitant, but as a protector, provider, and teammate. Whether it's managing finances, creating a stable home, or helping their partner through emotional turmoil, they carry their share of the weight, and often more. You'll rarely find a Capricorn Goat slacking in the duties of long-term partnership. They're dependable to a fault. If they say they'll be there, they will be. And if they promise to stand by you, they'll still be standing long after the world moves on. Marriage, for them, is also a visionary act. They don't just want a relationship, they want a legacy. Whether that means building a family, creating shared financial success, traveling the world, or supporting each other's ambitions, the Capricorn Goat sees marriage as a shared mission. It's not enough to just exist side by side, they want to build something together. Something real, something that lasts. And they're not afraid to work hard for it. They believe in structure, in setting goals, in growing steadily. If you're the kind of person who believes in dreaming and doing, who doesn't just talk about the future but creates it, you'll thrive in this marriage. But no union is without challenges. The Capricorn Goat may struggle with expressing emotion verbally. Their love might be quieter, more action-based than verbal, which can sometimes leave partners craving more overt affection. They may also slip into workaholic tendencies, seeing their role as a provider more clearly than their role as a romantic. In these moments, it's important to remember that their stoicism isn't a lack of love, it's just a different language. Help them feel safe enough to speak yours, and they'll rise to meet you there. At their best, Capricorn goats make exceptional spouses, strong, stable, intuitive, and unshakably loyal. They don't idealize perfection in a partner or a marriage, but they do hold high expectations for both. They won't tolerate emotional games or broken trust, but they will fight for what's worth saving. They're capable of immense tenderness, often expressed in quiet moments. A shared glance after a long day, a hand on your back in a crowd, a deep sigh of relief when you fall asleep next to them. These aren't grand gestures, they're evidence of the unspoken promise they live by every single day. To marry a Capricorn goat is to enter into a lifetime agreement, one that honors not just love but integrity. Not just romance, but resilience. It's a marriage built on shared values, mutual respect, and an enduring belief that what's real is worth working for. And if you're willing to build with them, you won't just have a marriage, you'll have a monument. A partnership that, like the goat climbing the highest cliffs and the Capricorn carving paths through stone, proves that slow, steady love is the kind that never crumbles. Sex. For the Capricorn goat, sex is far more than a physical act. It's an emotional ecosystem built on trust, authenticity, and deep emotional presence. They may not walk into a room dripping with overt flirtation or seductive bravado, but there's an understated magnetism about them that runs far deeper. You won't always see it in their words or their walk, but if you get close enough, you'll feel it. Capricorn goats exude a quiet sensuality that builds slowly, almost imperceptibly, until it becomes undeniable. They are not the type to rush into physical intimacy. Instead, they carefully observe, sense, and slowly allow the walls to fall, only when genuine trust is present. And once they do open up, they bring a level of emotional depth and intuitive understanding to sex that's impossible to fake. Their sexuality isn't about performance. It's about connection, about reading the room, not for mood lighting or music, but for the subtle cues that say, "I feel safe," or "I trust you." They are masters of pacing, often taking their time to explore, discover, and respond to their partner's needs without ever needing to be told. Capricorn goats rarely separate sex from meaning. Even if they experiment with casual encounters in their youth, they soon find that the experience feels empty without emotional substance. What truly excites them is a partner who is emotionally invested, who sees sex as a language of trust, and who values quality over novelty. In the bedroom, they lean toward sensuality rather than raw experimentation. They're far more interested in how something feels than how it looks. Soft lighting, warmth, physical closeness, and unspoken understanding. All of these are more important than any checklist of wild positions or toys. That's not to say they're boring, far from it. Once they feel secure, Capricorn goats can be deeply passionate and surprisingly adventurous. But their exploration is always tied to intimacy. They prefer to explore with one person, deeply, thoroughly, and over time, rather than chasing surface-level thrills with multiple partners. For them, great sex is an evolving conversation, not a performance piece. One of the more unique aspects of their sexual nature is their rhythm, both literally and emotionally. The goat year gives them a kind of bodily awareness, a grounded sense of physical timing. They often have a subtle, intuitive ability to move in sync with a partner, not just physically but emotionally. They can sense when their partner needs slowness, when eye contact matters more than touch, or when comfort and emotional grounding are more important than peak excitement. This makes them incredibly attuned lovers, ones who prioritize mutual satisfaction over ego. They don't just want you to feel good, they want you to feel seen, heard, and emotionally safe. What truly turns on a Capricorn goat is not lingerie or roleplay, though they can enjoy those, too, it's emotional recognition. Feeling needed, valued, and respected unlocks their full sensual potential. They need to know that you see all of them, not just their body, but their soul. When they feel emotionally chosen, their physical expression becomes deeply generous, even healing. Conversely, nothing shuts them down faster than emotional dishonesty or manipulation. If they sense that they're being played, used, or not fully respected, they withdraw, physically and emotionally. Superficiality is a complete turn-off. They can sense emotional games from miles away, and once that trust is broken, it's very difficult to rebuild. There's also a sacredness to how they view intimacy. Even if they don't speak in spiritual terms, their sexuality is quietly reverent. They believe sex is a form of energetic exchange, and they don't give that energy to just anyone. That's why, when they do give themselves, it's with full presence. Full focus. They don't check out. They don't go through the motions. They show up, completely. Their partner feels it, too, the safety, the loyalty, the consistency. Being with a Capricorn Goat doesn't just feel pleasurable, it feels real. Grounded, like you're both making something invisible, tangible. Over time, their sexual expression only deepens. They're not the kind of lovers who peak early. In fact, many Capricorn Goats report a blossoming of sexual confidence and depth in their 30s, 40s, and even beyond, because their sense of self becomes stronger with age, and so does their ability to be vulnerable. They don't chase highs. They build slow-burning fires that warm a lifetime. The longer they trust you, the more adventurous, expressive, and emotionally available they become. And unlike flashier lovers who fade over time, Capricorn Goats become more intimate, more exploratory, and more emotionally attuned as the years go on. At the heart of their sexual identity is a desire for deep partnership. Not just passion, not just fun, but true union. They want to connect at the core, to make love in a way that feels both grounding and transcendent. This makes them ideal long-term lovers. They don't get bored easily. They aren't hunting novelty for novelty's sake. Instead, they find endless intrigue in discovering new layers of their partner, exploring trust in new ways, and turning physical love into emotional art. Being intimate with a Capricorn Goat is not a chaotic blaze. It's a sacred ember, carefully tended, forever glowing. They'll never be the loudest lovers in the room, but they might just be the most memorable. Friendship. Friendship with a Capricorn Goat is not casual, not fleeting, and definitely not for everyone. These individuals are deeply intentional about who they allow into their inner circle. To them, friendship is not a matter of convenience or temporary enjoyment. It's a long-term commitment rooted in shared values, mutual respect, and emotional dependability. You won't find them surrounding themselves with dozens of acquaintances or engaging in small talk just to pass the time. They're not the loudest voice in the group chat, nor are they the first to RSVP to every party. But if you are one of the chosen few who truly connect with them, consider yourself incredibly lucky, because a Capricorn Goat friend is one of the most enduring, loyal, and quietly powerful presences you will ever have in your life. These individuals don't give away their trust easily. Building a friendship with them often feels like climbing a hill, slow, steady, and filled with quiet tests of consistency. They're observers by nature, silently watching how people act when no one's looking. They want to see how you handle disappointment, how you speak about others behind their backs, and whether your words align with your actions. This isn't paranoia, it's emotional intelligence. Capricorn Goats have been let down before, and they've likely built thick emotional walls to protect themselves. But once you've passed through those quiet gates and earned their trust, their loyalty is immovable. They will defend you, support you, and invest in your well-being with a level of sincerity that's almost sacred. They're not the type to flood you with affection or check in daily with emojis and updates. But their love shows up in profound ways. They'll remember the important details, your mom's surgery date, the anniversary of your breakup, the fact that you hate being alone on holidays. They show up not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. If your world is falling apart, they'll be at your door, maybe with food, maybe with practical advice, or maybe just to sit beside you in silence. They don't always have the perfect words, but their presence is unshakable. In a world full of temporary, conditional friendships, they are the ones who stay. Capricorn Goats are particularly skilled at giving advice that's both grounded and actionable. They won't sugarcoat the truth, but they'll deliver it with care and clarity. Whether you're struggling with your job, questioning a relationship, or feeling lost in life, they'll help you zoom out and look at the bigger picture. They excel at untangling complicated problems and helping you lay down a path forward. And they do it without judgment. They want to see you succeed, not because it makes them feel important, but because they genuinely care. There's something deeply generous about how they support their friends, not with noise, but with substance. Their introversion can sometimes be misunderstood. There will be weeks, even months, where they pull back, not because something is wrong, but because solitude is essential to their well-being. These are people who carry a lot internally. They process deeply, feel intensely, and often need time alone to reset. If you're the kind of friend who needs constant validation or frequent contact to feel secure, a Capricorn Goat may challenge you. But if you can accept that love doesn't always mean constant visibility, you'll start to notice how consistently they show up in the ways that truly matter. They value friends who respect their rhythm, people who understand that withdrawal isn't rejection, and silence doesn't mean absence of love. They also have a quiet protectiveness that runs deeper than words. If someone wrongs you, betrays you, or treats you unfairly, they won't make a public scene, but they'll never forget. They'll take mental notes and adjust their behavior accordingly, often cutting people off quietly but completely. This silent strength makes them fierce allies and subtly powerful defenders. They might not yell or confront, but they will move mountains behind the scenes to protect someone they care about. If they hear your name being disrespected in a room you're not in, they'll speak up. Not for applause, but because it's the right thing to do. Their friendships often span decades, not seasons. These are the people you still talk to at age 40, 60, 80. The ones who stood beside you through life's transitions, tragedies, and triumphs. They don't see friendships as disposable. If you fought and survived it together, they count that as part of the bond, not the end of it. They believe in repair, in forgiveness, and in the kind of love that can withstand tension. But they also have limits. If a friendship becomes one-sided, disloyal, or disrespectful, they will walk away, and once they're gone, they rarely look back. There's also a creative, soulful side to their friendships that often surprises people. Because while Capricorn Goats are known for their pragmatism, the goat side adds imagination and empathy to their emotional world. They might write you a poem on your birthday, create a personalized playlist, or show up with a gift that seems random, until you realize it connects to a small detail you mentioned months ago. These little gestures, seemingly quiet on the outside, carry immense emotional weight. They don't show love in loud, performative ways. They show it in real, deeply personal moments that make you feel profoundly seen. Ultimately, being friends with a Capricorn Goat means belonging to something rare. It means having someone in your life who doesn't just stand beside you when things are good, but someone who's ready to walk into the fire for you, silently and without question. It's about having a steady anchor in a chaotic world, someone who remembers your truth even when you forget it yourself. Their friendship may not be flashy, but it is fierce. And once you've experienced it, no other kind feels quite the same. Business work ethic. Capricorn Goats don't typically chase the spotlight, but make no mistake, their absence from center stage is never due to lack of talent or ambition. In fact, their brilliance lies in the shadows, where they quietly observe, strategize, and execute with surgical precision. These individuals don't care about applause, they care about results. They are the kind of people who build multi-million-dollar ventures in silence, release groundbreaking work without fanfare, or create institutional change from a corner office no one thought to look inside. They don't need recognition to validate their efforts, but ironically, they often get it anyway, because greatness, especially when consistent, can only go unnoticed for so long. The Capricorn Goat archetype is that of the builder, not the one hammering wildly at a wall, but the one sketching blueprints in the back room, calculating structure, sustainability, and purpose before laying the first stone. They are drawn to careers that blend vision with structure. They crave environments where their creativity isn't stifled, but it must be grounded in something real, measurable, and enduring. Fields like architecture, design, finance, psychology, writing, healthcare, or business development appeal to them because they offer two vital elements: room to dream and space to implement. They are equally satisfied painting a canvas as they are managing a company, as long as both are rooted in long-term value. In the workplace, Capricorn Goats are the executors. Dreamers, yes, but never just dreamers. Their Capricorn side demands results. Their Goat side provides the imagination. Together, this creates a fusion of logic and artistry, ambition and intuition, that is remarkably rare. They're not satisfied with good enough. If they're going to build something, it has to last. Whether it's a brand, a system, or a legacy, they construct for durability. Temporary thrills or hollow achievements hold no appeal. Their minds are always thinking 10 years down the road. What will this decision mean later? Will this hold up under pressure? These are the questions that guide them, and they never stop asking. One of their greatest business assets is emotional intelligence paired with discipline. They know how to read a room, anticipate people's needs, and navigate social dynamics without being manipulative or superficial. While others may rely on charm or assertiveness, Capricorn goats win trust through quiet competence. They're not trying to impress, they're trying to deliver. They don't overpromise. In fact, they often understate their capabilities, letting their work speak for itself. When they say they'll do something, you can count on it getting done, on time, under budget, and likely with improvements no one even asked for. They don't hustle for validation. They hustle for impact. Another trait that sets them apart is their ability to balance idealism with realism. The goat year gives them an innate sensitivity and imaginative spirit, allowing them to think creatively, emotionally, and outside the box. But Capricorn keeps their feet firmly planted on the ground. They can dream of innovative ideas and design the business plan to fund it. They know how to transform intangible vision into concrete systems. Many of them have what you might call entrepreneurial souls, even if they work within structured environments. They always look for ways to improve systems, optimize processes, or quietly reinvent the wheel, without needing to shout about it. Patience is not just a virtue for the Capricorn goat, it's a weapon. They're never in a rush to make it. While others chase instant fame, fast money, or overnight success, Capricorn goats are quietly laying foundations beneath the surface. They understand that true success takes time. Years, sometimes decades. They plant seeds others forget to water and stay focused while everyone else is distracted by trends. And when the world finally catches up to what they've been quietly perfecting, they're already 3 steps ahead, ready for the next phase of evolution. They are not sprinters. They are marathoners, and the longer the race, the more they thrive. They also understand the value of solitude in work. These are not always the people bouncing ideas off the boardroom table or thriving in hypersocial workspaces. Often, they prefer environments where they can focus, refine, and operate in peace. Long hours don't scare them, especially when the work matters. They are capable of deep concentration and commitment, which makes them ideal for long-term projects, startups, or institutions that need both stability and innovation. In fact, many Capricorn goats end up in positions of authority not because they demanded it, but because others recognize their consistency, integrity, and quiet leadership. Their work ethic is uncompromising. Capricorn goats rarely cut corners. They find satisfaction in doing things the right way, even if it takes longer or requires more effort. This strong moral compass in business can sometimes make them seem inflexible, but in reality, it makes them reliable partners and leaders. Their word is their bond. If they're in charge of something, you can rest easy, it will be taken care of with absolute precision. And if they work under someone else, they'll earn trust so completely that they're often promoted without even asking. And yet, despite all this power, they are often incredibly humble. They don't lead with their resume. They lead with results. They won't broadcast their achievements, but they'll quietly be the person others go to when things get tough. They don't crave attention, they crave excellence. And because they hold themselves to such high standards, their mere presence in a room often raises the bar for everyone else. Not through pressure, but through example. To work with a Capricorn goat is to experience integrity in motion. You'll likely never hear them boast, but you'll watch them build things others said were impossible. You'll see them fix problems without being asked. You'll feel the calm strength they bring to chaos, the structure they build in uncertainty. They don't need a stage. They are the foundation. And while others chase the next big thing, the Capricorn goat is already working on something that will still matter 50 years from now. This is brilliance that doesn't need to be announced. It's legacy in the making. Dark sides. The Capricorn goat is a master of composure. On the outside, they often appear calm, dependable, and grounded, like someone who always has a plan, who rarely complains, and who seems to hold themselves together no matter what's happening. But beneath that serene surface lies a world of quiet inner struggle, carried like an invisible backpack filled with unspoken weight. While other personalities may externalize their stress, the Capricorn Goat internalizes everything. Their shadows are not worn on their sleeves. They're buried under layers of self-control, dignity, and responsibility. And it's this very silence that makes their emotional pain easy to miss and difficult to heal. Their greatest internal battle often comes from the immense pressure they place on themselves. Capricorn Goats tend to operate under a lifelong internal script that demands perfection. It whispers, "Do more, be better, don't let them down, and don't mess this up." They set impossibly high standards, not because anyone asked them to, but because they hold themselves to a level of excellence that most people wouldn't even attempt. When they inevitably fall short of these standards, they don't just feel disappointed, they feel defective. But they don't cry out. They don't show cracks. Instead, they silently bear the weight, adjusting their posture to carry more, blaming themselves for not being superhuman. This relentless drive to be better is both their engine and their curse. Perfectionism isn't just about doing things right, it's about a deep-rooted fear of being unworthy if they don't. And because Capricorn Goats are naturally humble, their self-criticism doesn't always come with the obvious signs of low self-esteem. It shows up in their restlessness, their inability to celebrate their wins, or their tendency to see a 98% success as a failure. This chronic self-evaluation can lead to burnout, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. Even when they're praised by others, they often dismiss it internally. "Sure, but I could have done more." They live with a mental checklist that's never finished, a mountain that never quite feels summited. Another powerful shadow they carry is a deep fear of rejection, especially emotional rejection. Capricorn Goats are naturally cautious when it comes to vulnerability. They don't rush into emotional openness, not because they're cold, but because they've been hurt by the world's unpredictability. They know what it feels like to be misunderstood, abandoned, or unseen. As a result, they often hide their most tender feelings under layers of stoicism and pragmatism. They might be the friend who always listens but rarely shares. The partner who supports you through your breakdown, but changes the subject when it's about their own. They fear that exposing their inner world might lead to judgment, or worse, disconnection. This fear can create a cycle of emotional isolation. Even in close relationships, they may feel like they're carrying emotional loads alone, too afraid to fully reveal themselves. Many Capricorn Goats wrestle with a confusing internal belief that they are simultaneously too much to handle and not enough to deserve love. It's a paradox that leads them to overgive, overperform, and overfunction, hoping their usefulness will compensate for the vulnerability they're too afraid to show. They crave deep connection, but often fear that if people saw the full picture, the fears, the sadness, the insecurities, they would walk away. And then there's escapism, one of their more misunderstood coping mechanisms. When life becomes too overwhelming or emotionally complicated, Capricorn Goats may retreat. But their version of retreat doesn't always look like avoidance. It can look like burying themselves in work, taking on more responsibilities, or disappearing into highly structured routines. In other cases, it might manifest as isolation, fantasy, or obsessive consumption of stories, games, or daydreams, anything that allows them to leave the weight of reality behind for a while. To outsiders, it may seem like distance, disinterest, or even emotional coldness. But in truth, it's often a form of self-preservation. A way to create a safe space where they're not constantly being evaluated, compared, or exposed. Their emotional detachment during these moments isn't about apathy, it's about survival. When things feel too intense or unsafe, Capricorn Goats instinctively protect themselves by creating space. But this can become a pattern if left unchecked, an emotional feedback loop that prevents them from forming the kinds of bonds they secretly long for. They need to feel completely safe to truly open up, and safety, for them, is built through time, consistency, and non-judgmental presence. Only when they feel they won't be criticized, abandoned, or overwhelmed, will they allow someone fully into their emotional interior. But here's where it gets beautiful. When Capricorn Goats begin to shift from internal criticism to internal compassion, their emotional landscape transforms. When they stop viewing their flaws as failures and start seeing them as part of the human experience, they become emotionally powerful in ways that are absolutely remarkable. Their emotional intelligence, already high, is deepened by self-acceptance. Their empathy, always present, becomes more expressive. Their vulnerability becomes a bridge instead of a burden. They go from surviving their emotions to navigating them, and eventually, to sharing them, building intimacy in ways that feel honest and healing. This journey often begins with learning how to forgive themselves, to let go of the need to be perfect, to understand that worth is not earned through achievement, but already present. It also requires choosing relationships, romantic, platonic, and professional, that create emotional space for their complexity. With the right people, they start to feel safe enough to let go of the armor. And when that happens, their inner world opens like a hidden garden, quiet, rich, wild, and full of life. The dark side of the Capricorn Goat is not malevolent. It's misunderstood. Their silence is not absence, it's depth. Their retreat is not rejection, it's protection. Their perfectionism is not ego, it's fear in disguise. But once they learn to meet themselves with grace instead of punishment, those same shadows become the source of their deepest wisdom. And when they finally learn to be soft with themselves, that's when their brilliance stops being hidden in the shadows, and begins to shine from within. Life purpose. The life purpose of the Capricorn Goat is not measured in fleeting moments or temporary applause. It is carved in the stone of legacy. These individuals are not here to simply pass through life, clock in and clock out, or chase shallow achievements. They are born with a deeply embedded sense that they are meant to build something real. Something that endures, something that matters. Whether it's a business that transforms a community, a piece of art that moves hearts across generations, a family structure built on love and integrity, or a mission that gives voice to the forgotten, Capricorn Goats are here to turn dreams into form. They are the architects of vision, the quiet warriors of purpose, and the torchbearers of values in a noisy world that often forgets its roots. What sets them apart is their intrinsic understanding that greatness takes time. Many Capricorn Goats spend their early years, particularly their 20s and into their 30s, grappling with doubt. Not because they lack ambition, but because their internal standards are so high, they often feel like they haven't done enough, aren't far enough along, or haven't yet found their true path. These years are often filled with quiet experimentation, pursuing different interests, trying to fit into systems that don't always align with their values, and wrestling with self-imposed expectations. But here's the thing, they are laying foundation. Even when it feels like they're floundering, they are absorbing, refining, and positioning themselves for something far bigger than they can currently see. Capricorn Goats often reach their full stride later in life, typically in their 40s or 50s, when their experience, wisdom, and confidence finally align. This is when everything starts to click. The trials and errors of youth become strategic knowledge. The failures become stepping stones. The doubts transform into discernment. And suddenly, what once felt like scattered effort reveals itself as deep preparation. Unlike those who peak early and burn out, Capricorn Goats are designed to age into their purpose. Their impact grows over time. Their voice becomes more powerful with age. Their legacy strengthens the longer they live, because they are not in a race, they are in a lifelong mission. But their version of success is never hollow. Capricorn Goats aren't chasing accolades for their own sake. They want meaningful success, purposeful achievements, a career that serves, uplifts, or transforms, a relationship that grows deeper with every decade, a reputation that's earned, not given. They're not concerned with flash or viral trends, they're focused on impact. They want to know that their life changed something, someone, for the better. This applies to everything they touch, the way they parent, the way they lead, the way they serve. Their life purpose isn't about proving they're great, it's about doing great things, especially for others. The internal journey of the Capricorn Goat is just as critical as the external one. Part of their soul's mission is to learn how to balance opposites, logic and emotion, discipline and spontaneity, ambition and rest, solitude and intimacy. Capricorn can lean heavily towards structure and practicality, while the Goat brings deep sensitivity and imagination. Learning to integrate these forces is not always easy, but it's essential to their growth. When they operate only from logic, they lose their empathy. When they drown in emotion, they lose their sense of forward motion. But when they merge the two, they become something extraordinary, a grounded visionary, a practical dreamer, a wise-hearted leader. This internal alchemy is what turns them into quiet world changers, Not through force or drama, but through consistency, clarity, and deep-rooted conviction. They don't just inspire people with words, they lead by example. They live what they believe. They carry themselves with quiet integrity, even when no one is watching. And people feel it. Whether they're managing a team, raising a family, creating something beautiful, or simply standing by a friend in crisis, Capricorn goats offer a kind of soul-deep reliability that is increasingly rare. At their highest evolution, these individuals are legacy bearers. They may not seek fame, but their name is remembered. They may not go viral, but their influence ripples quietly across lives and generations. They are the mentors, the makers, the mentors, the builders, the ones who inspire not just through speeches, but through decades of showing up. Through staying when it's hard. Through trying again when others quit. Through committing when others hedge. They don't just leave behind resumes. They leave behind blueprints, roadmaps, and stories of endurance that others will follow for years to come. And what drives them at the core is often something deeply personal, a childhood dream, a spiritual conviction, a promise made to themselves long ago. Even when life challenges them, even when they lose their way temporarily, there is always a guiding fire within them, pulling them forward. They are not driven by trends, but by truth. And that truth becomes the compass by which they shape their lives, build their work, and define their legacy. The life purpose of a Capricorn goat is to turn time, patience, and quiet persistence into something that cannot be undone. To build what others only dare to imagine. To create value not just for now, but for always. Whether it's through love, service, creativity, leadership, or transformation, they are here to leave the world better than they found it. And they will, one deliberate step at a time. So the next time you meet someone who seems like a gentle soul but speaks with the weight of mountains behind their words, remember, you might be looking at a Capricorn born in the year of the goat. They might enter a room quietly, without drawing attention to themselves, but don't be fooled by the subtlety. There's a gravity to them, a grounded calm that speaks volumes even in silence. These are the kinds of people who listen more than they speak, observe more than they interrupt, and calculate long before they act. And when they do speak, every word carries the quiet resonance of someone who has lived deeply, reflected honestly, and built their character layer by layer. There's a kind of ancient wisdom in their tone, even if they're young. A patience in their eyes. A stillness that feels like standing at the base of something vast and timeless. It's not always obvious at first, but if you look closely, you'll see it. They don't just walk through life, they anchor it. Reserved but not cold. Capricorn goats are often misunderstood in this way. Their quietness, their need for solitude, their habit of keeping emotions close to the chest. It's easy to mistake these traits for aloofness or detachment. But that couldn't be further from the truth. What you're actually seeing is selectivity. They don't open themselves up to just anyone, and they don't offer trust without watching for consistency first. Their hearts are immensely deep and sensitive, which is exactly why they protect them so fiercely. If you've ever been on the receiving end of their quiet loyalty, you know this already. When they care with a steadiness that never asks for credit. You'll find their warmth not in grand displays, but in the details, in how they remember your needs, how they stand by you in hard times, how they check in long after everyone else forgets. Their reserve is not a wall, it's a filter. One that protects a truly rare kind of love. Dreaming but grounded. This is one of the most beautiful contradictions within the Capricorn goat personality. They dream deeply, sometimes wildly, often in solitude. Their inner world is rich with ideas, visions, and emotions they rarely verbalize. The goat side fills them with imagination and sensitivity, constantly urging them to create, to feel, to see the world not just as it is, but as it could be. But here's the magic: they don't get lost in those dreams. Capricorn keeps them rooted, tethered to logic and long-term strategy. They don't just imagine better futures, they build them. Slowly, methodically, and often alone. Their dreams come with blueprints. Their inspiration comes with timelines. And when they commit to something, you can bet they're thinking 10 steps ahead. They are both the poet and the planner, the artist and the engineer, able to envision what others overlook and bring it to life with tireless determination. Private but profoundly present. You won't always know what a Capricorn goat is thinking. They're not the type to overshare or post their every thought on social media. Their inner lives are sacred ground, rich, complex, and often kept behind carefully maintained walls. But don't let that privacy confuse you. Just because they don't always speak their emotions doesn't mean they aren't feeling them deeply. In fact, few people are more emotionally attuned than a Capricorn goat. They simply choose not to reveal their inner world until it feels safe. But when they love you, when they trust you, they are fully there. In your sorrow, in your joy, in your big moments and your forgotten ones. They may not always say the right thing, but their presence speaks louder. Their presence says, "You are not alone. I've got you." They love in quiet ways, but those ways echo forever. Not the loudest in the room, but possibly the strongest. You won't always notice them first. They're not interested in dominating conversations or putting themselves at the center of attention. But stay long enough, and you'll realize that they're the one people instinctively turn to when things fall apart. Capricorn goats don't flinch in chaos. They've lived through storms, internal and external, and have built resilience the old-fashioned way, through experience, failure, and reflection. Their strength is not bluster or bravado, it's backbone. They're strong because they've had to be. Because they hold themselves to higher standards. Because they've learned how to carry their own pain without projecting it onto others. In the hardest moments, when others panic, they stay calm. When others quit, they lean in. Their power isn't flashy, it's fortified. And it lasts. If this profile hit home or made you think of someone you know, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive personality breakdowns, and don't forget to check out the links in the description for bonus content. Maybe you saw yourself in these words. Or maybe you thought of a best friend, a quiet colleague, a partner whose strength is easy to overlook but impossible to replace. Capricorn goats may not ask for recognition, but they deserve it. So take a second to appreciate the steady people in your life. The builders, the protectors, the ones who never make a big deal out of showing up, but always do. Until next time, keep discovering the stories written in the stars. Because every soul is a constellation of complexity, and some, like the Capricorn goat, shine brightest in the silence.